Hi everyone, and welcome back to my show. I'm Anja Braun, and this is English Breakfast. For our very first episode, we have something, as you know, very special to the channel, my love of cults. We have here a survivor.
To break free from all mental illness, all physical illness, anything.
We love him, we know him, he's a ginger. His name is Jacob Lenz. The crowd goes wild. Yay! Welcome, Jacob.
Thank you, Anya, for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Are you excited? Are you nervous?
I'm very excited. I can't wait to tell all about what I have to say.
Before we get into it, we are going to start off with the tea of the week. The tea of the week this week is that Beyonce has released Cowboy Carter, her country album, which is, quote, not a country album, but is a Beyonce album. And on behalf of all the Blackabillys across the United States, I would like to say thank you, Beyonce. She's literally gagging me. The spirit of Beyonce is gagging me as I speak. In other news, the WNBA did their draft this week. Very exciting for all of the Amazonian queens getting to the bag. We'd love to see it. Now, women's sports, but specifically women's basketball, has been on the rise in popularity for the last year. I would say the whole beef with Angel Reese, which, oh my God, like, she's so tall, thick, and pretty. Like, I hate to see her win. You're done. Now, the thing that everyone wants to know is Paige gay? Back to the show. You have a close connection to what kind of cult?
A religious-based cult most people probably have heard of throughout the years, especially since 2015. We can all guess, maybe. One of their main persons is Tom Cruise, and one of the main people to speak out against the church is Leah Remini.
My good Judy, yes.
Exactly. So, church as a whole, the Church of Scientology.
I want to know, background on Jacob, I'm just going to give a little info on you. Jacob is a military child. So if you don't already know, a lot of the, manipulation tactics that are used by cults are to prey on people who are in vulnerable positions, right? And those are people who may not have a lot of stability in their life, who are looking for financial needs, spiritual needs, things of that nature. We're going to lay out there that the person who was in the cult was Jacob's mother. Jacob was a child. So at what age were you when she was involved with this cult?
Around 8 to 12 was around the ages that my family and I were in the cult. Mostly my mother, my sister, and I, as my father was gone, military stuff.
She was how old?
Really good question. I'm so bad at my mother's ages.
Okay.
Definitely in her 30s.
Okay.
Early, mid 30s.
Okay. And where were you, like, in the country?
San Diego, where my father was stationed.
Okay, T. So, because I know, obviously, they're really big in California. That's where all of the celebs are. When it comes to, like, getting involved, like, did she know somebody that was in it? Or did it just spring up upon her? Like, how did she even, like, find out what that was?
So when I talked about my mother, because I found out about Scientology, obviously, I knew I was in it as a child, but then we had left really abruptly. Kind of out of my mind. So then once I saw Leah Remini, all that kind of stuff that went out, it just clicked in my head. We were in Scientology.
I was in that, right?
I was in that. What happened? Like, why did we just leave?
Right.
And so I asked her later on about the stuff that happened, which I read Leah Remini's book. Great book, by the way. But I asked her, like, what made you want to join? She told me she had learned about, well, she said, in a magazine, in Time magazine specifically.
Okay.
They did a huge expose about it because in the 90s, a lot of Scientology was lesser known, but with the great cult that it is in the sense of business, they were able to really portray and get the good people out, the ones who shine and emphasize the meaning of Scientology. Tom Cruise.
Make it look good.
Exactly. They had a whole thing about Tom Cruise, and then in the early 2000s, Leah Remini, her career was building up later on in the 90s, but her TV show, stuff like that. She wrote an expose about it and enjoyed it. And then after some things happened in the life earlier on, she just walked by the Church of Scientology in San Diego and just put herself in. And then...
In person?
Yeah, just walked in, and then that's how it all started, basically.
Whoa. That's really crazy. So, like, okay, I remember you telling me that obviously you were in it and then you've been out of it for a long time. Now, as a viewer of the Leah Remini series exposing the entire situation, we want to know, how true is it, like, that these people are stalking their ex-members? How true would you say that is for a normal person who wasn't like a famous person?
Yeah, so they were all in highly powerful positions. For Leah Remini, she was high up in the org, specifically the Sea Org. She had grown up. Exactly. There's all different segments of it, much like, well, because baseline, L. Ron Hubbard was obsessed with the military. L. Ron Hubbard, I'm sure some viewers may know, but if you don't, it is the he's the creator of it. Good story about him. He wrote the books.
He was there when the ancient text was written.
Exactly. Their whole code, I think it was like diacritics or something with dia in it, but that was their whole baseline of what he wanted to do with it. The psychology of the whole moral factors of what Scientology is. Now we get into the whole Xenu stuff later on, but again, you don't find that out. The public knows about it because of the ex-members higher up who have left. But we went in normally, the whole stalking thing is true, because then Leah Remini does a great job about that. But those are high up officials who know such deep secrets about the place, where they're going to make sure, do everything in their power, as we know about, I can't think of the proper word, but it's like borderline, it's excommunication. They excommunicate you, they divide you from your family, your
friends. Being exiled, like this is Game of Thrones.
Exactly. For the normal members, as my mother was, we were only in it for 4 years, and she did not dive in heavily. She did grow up in the ranks within the org, but we were nowhere near the Sea Org. Nowhere near. She knew people in the Sea Org.
You have to literally, I just want everyone to know how deep the Sea Org is. The Sea Org, they tell you that, like, you, I have to laugh, that you literally have to, like you are in this not only for, like, this present lifetime, like, are you, like, dedicated to the cause? You have to, like, be signed up for this eternally. Like, this is like your lives after these lives. You are in the fucking Sea Org.
Building your contract.
Yes,
you have
like
to sign it when
the
you go to
lifelong contract to be in this, like, high-end sorority. Like, I can't.
Good point.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, the Sea Org, obviously, that's only for, like, the people who are
you have to build up in the ranks. Now, if your children, what they like to do is, because a lot of the things are the younger members, because the older ones, anything you need to get new people in to keep it going, to keep the society alive.
The next gen.
And with the children, it's a lot easier because, they're young minds. If you get someone who comes from the outside world and then gets put into it, you have that factor, much like my mother did. You have that factor, and hopefully you do, to get
a little bit of the real world.
To realize this is wrong, why I need to get myself out when it comes to that point. Whereas if you're a child, it's all you know, and Leah Remini talks great about that. But and a lot of the other people within the show who were born into it, or they were immigrants and that was their only thing of America was Scientology and the place in Florida, stuff like that. It's insane. But so with the stalking, it does happen. We were way down lower, but when we did leave, I have very vivid memories of this one guy. He came to our house we didn't live on a military base, it was in the military community, and it could go on the community, but showed up at our house once.
Hunger Games vibes.
Exactly.
District 12.
Exactly. He showed up to the house. We weren't home. Another time he showed up to the school when my mother was picking up my sister and I. And then I remember we just like swiftly went home. She said a couple words and just went home. And then the third time he came to the house and my father was there, and that was it. Like, that's the last time the guy showed. But he was like a normal person.
That's a lot of times to be a normal member of a church. Like, no one from the Baptist church is going to show up to your kid's school and be like,
no, the Catholics are going to be at your door. They're going to be at the door asking for gossip, but they're not going to be at the door being like, why weren't you in service this Sunday and this Tuesday?
And are you coming back?
Exactly.
Mind your business. I feel like the closest, this is a fun story for you. The closest that I have to this is my fake trauma about the Jehovah's Witnesses coming to my house. Like when they knock on the door or whatever. And like when I was little, I legitimately thought that these were like terrorists. Like I thought that, thought that they were like coming to like pew pew, like you're done. Like the way that my mom acted, I can't even imagine how she'd be acting if people were coming to my school to be like, let me see your child.
Oh God!
Excuse me?
The whole moral thing with them was completely gone. Like they preach all these things, whatever. But their whole basis is you have to keep the members and you have to keep them going because they have. You see with Leah Remini and all that kind of stuff. They talk about we have this many people in the world. We do all these many things. You walk by the one even in Philadelphia, empty. There's no one in there. You don't see. Sometimes in the bigger cities, like I remember I was in Germany and we walked by one and they had like people outside handing pamphlets. You don't see that in other places.
Like
San Diego did not do that. Yeah. They don't have very many people as they say they do, but they have to keep the ones they have. And they have so many good tactics to make sure they keep them.
That's really like interesting, the fact that there aren't, because of how crazy it is, I feel like people really at this point know a lot about them.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's not like of course they have to make it seem like it's way cooler and way bigger than it actually is.
Yeah, their face value was so much higher than the actual underground when you learn about it.
Right.
I mean, we all know about Xenu. That's the whole basis when you get like super high up and you find out, oh, the reason why I'm trapped inside and I can't do all these things, my emotions, my family life, my relationships, my money is all because I have a lizard locked in my body who I can't get out because the ship crashed when the earth was formed, like all that kind of stuff. They don't tell you about that.
They don't want to tell you about the lizards,
but they're smart because they tell you about that when you're so deep you can't
After you've already spent $70,000 trillion.
And the money is the big fact.
Oh, we're going to talk about the money. We're going to talk about the money.
Those poor families.
It's really, okay, so same question to you. If your mom was in this for 4 years, how much do you, if you even know, how much do you have to pay like to start? Like, what's the starter pack?
So when you first start, the thing is, they really, especially for San Diego, it's a big city, but there wasn't that many people within the org. And so my mother joined, got these free classes. They gave you the beginning books. And one of the books I remember deeply, The Way to Happiness. They gave us so many of those little mini books. And I remember my sister and I were like, oh my God, we're going to bring these around to the people in our neighborhood. We did it, thank God. Thank God. I could never live myself if I did that. We had so many of them.
Okay.
And it's a simple book.
What does it say?
It's a very, I'm going to say it's good, but it's very basic practices. Just like love, it's what any church does, basically. Just like love yourself, fight these things you have. There you go. Maybe not that because they don't discriminate, but at least it's because they need anyone.
Oh, wow.
But basic things about how to live your life and be the truest form. But it's very basic, broad information that you could get from talking to a friend, a peer, someone higher up on you, something like that.
But that's the thing. People who do not have friends or pears, who are in the most vulnerable positions, who are alone, maybe away from their families, maybe on a military base. Bada bing, you give this to them and you're like, oh my God, like you are my friend. Now I'm attached to you.
I have a community now, and that's the whole basis. And you go through different ones. One of the other super big books was they're so anti-psychiatry. Big point of theirs. They have a whole, and with those like 10 different books they have, I believe there's 10 of they're more like booklets, pamphlets type things. They have movies for all of them. I remember sitting there waiting for my mother to get one of her courses done, and then they had like a 3 CD spinner with with the drug movie, The Way to Happiness, and a different movie, I can't remember, but always on rotation. But going back to the cost, they don't charge you that much in the beginning. Again, I don't really know the cost that much, but I know from the things and stuff like that with my mother, the beginning isn't expensive. Then they push you to do the courses, and that's where all the money comes from, because the courses cost money. You do well in one course, they'll give you another course for free. You exceed through that. They have an award ceremony all the time, and even all the churches have them. The one in San Diego, they had a award ceremony. My mother got like best newest member. We got like 10 of these huge
best newest member. What does that even mean? It's like newest member. The ones who is wearing a blue shirt today. You slayed so hard, mamas.
Exactly. Excelled well in the courses, doing well, following Scientology practice, and then also being an active member within the community and the org itself. Oh my God, I just remember. Okay, so she did the whole ceremony, got all those books, and I remember looking back, I asked my mother, and like, those books cost well over $1,000 for those 10, which you probably would have spent if they sold them at Barnes & Noble, which they don't. If you were to buy them, like say like a regular hard copy book of Harry Potter, 20 bucks, 10 of them gonna cost you maybe $100. They're thousands of dollars, and that's for the materials. The course itself costs way more.
So those aren't the same.
No.
Like, the books for the course are not, I mean, it's like college. Like you have to pay
say that. It's just like college
for the textbook.
But there's a way around things with that. There's no way around with that. At least people could give you stuff. I'm assuming if you asked, they probably wouldn't because they love their books. But if you were going to be like, oh, I can't be in church anymore because I can't do this. Well, if you see you can't afford something, they're going to
They'd be like, take out a credit card, honey.
That's exactly what they do. My mother told me also after the years went on, they would get you to sit down. She would have many talks with people. Some of the closer friends, she did have good friends, and she always mentioned she met some really cool people, but the majority of them were horrendous in the fact that they were just, lack of a better term, dumb. They were just so into it, and they would harass her for money. And if you're a normal person, you don't deal with money. You're there for a community.
Harass her for money.
You don't want to be harassed for money. You don't go to your pastor to get harassed for money. They bring out those little things, those little bowls you pass around.
Yeah, for like a donation.
If you don't put something in, they're not going to kick you out and discommunicate you because you
right, and then be like, you're not allowed to talk to your family anymore. Put a fucking dollar in the jar.
Exactly. So they would ask her openly to open credit cards Open as many as they could. Yeah. Give all the money to the church, and then let alone ask my grandparents for money. Stuff like that, where it's like, what is not clicking? I cannot be doing this. And those are for donations. Those are not for the courses. Those are for donations because those are
so. In addition to the thousands of dollars for the materials and the courses, on top of that, they would like you to take out a credit card or a couple.
Exactly, because they always need a flow of money. They always need it.
What are they doing with it? Does anybody know? Like.
Well, think of their PR team, first of all, their production crew, all that kind of stuff. And then, because there are members who work for the church, if you're high up, you get like a somewhat stipend. I know my mother, she basically volunteered for the church. It was a job, but she was getting like $2 an hour. Like, so she did that to be a part of the community and help them because they said they needed help, but you were getting so little. As like a bona fide volunteer.
Exactly,
a bona fide volunteer, exactly. And then on top of that, that's not enough. You have to give them more money. She would give some money here and there, and then boom, like, I'm done, more. When they found out my father got a re-enlistment bonus. Where is that? Why haven't you given it to the church? Like, this man was like gone for a year and got a bonus for that, and then re-enlisted for 4 more years because all this it's his, it's not yours, but it's not in their eyes.
But the fact that they even know like enough to keep up with everyone, like, I just feel like it's very housewives. Everyone is in there, like, in everyone else's business to the point where, why do you even know that so-and-so's husband has a re-enlistment bonus to even ask? How do you know that? Why do you know that? Why are you so obsessed?
She probably gossiped. I'll be honest on that.
Okay.
You know, we sometimes can't keep shut. You know me with that, but
she said,
yeah, like, oh, boom. But also, it was a military community, and if you say my husband's re-enlisting, it's kind of
You're
just,
like,
it's in there. Like, the entirety of San Diego, and mostly of Southern California, is very military-based. So a lot of the people who grew up there, who aren't military, know of it and know of the practices, so that also could be why.
They would just assume.
Exactly, but you're spending thousands upon thousands of dollars, and it's never good enough because you always have to give to the church because it's their property, and you're there to give the word out. And how are they supposed to give the word out if you're not giving them money? Your time isn't worth anything to them. They need your money. And then also your time, but they want your money. Which
is like so crazy. They're just like, we want you to stay alive.
Exactly. You have to preach the word. We need a hot
body in the seat who's bringing in dollar bills. And they'll just do anything to get that. Like, you're joking. That's insane.
Their practices are completely inhumane, especially for the Sea Org people. And that's all.
The stories from the people who are in the Sea Org, like,
they're horrific. That's where all the abuse happens.
Yeah.
Because when you're ordinary,
like
you're not, depending the church I was in, but mostly if you hear other people who were in it at a baseline level, because you have to have millions of dollars to get into, to go up like OC, I believe it's OCT or OC. They have a scale. So they have, I remember in the building, they had a huge poster. And think of it as like a fundraiser type thing where they have like different like
thon.
Yeah, like that. And they have different like markers to show where you are.
Okay.
It was listed like that. Of course, there weren't any price tags, but lower level. And then as you learn on, the more you pay, the more you get to these courses, and then you go up the ladder. You go up. You go up.
Enlightenment.
You go up to enlightenment. Exactly, quote unquote. But yeah, you go up. Boom. The people who are up, who reach those levels, are they're supposed to have unlocked themselves. They're supposed to break free from all mental illness, all physical illness, anything. You're supposed to get these quote-unquote superpowers, like you won't get hurt.
Oh my God!
You have money flowing nonstop, because the practice of Scientology will unlock what's inside of you, and you will be able to break free from that.
That dog in you.
Exactly. Why most people join? Because they want to be able to break themselves from society, from their ambitions, from their anxieties, from their shortcomings, their family problems.
I have a question just to bring to the table, which is, how are we supposed to release ourselves from the shackles of debt if we've taken out 17 credit cards in order to get to this quote-unquote highest level?
Exactly, and that's the logic of it, what a normal person would think, but when you're in there, there's none of that, because if I don't meet this thing, I'm going to hurt my family, hurt my loved ones, and myself mostly, and not only them, my community, because I'm not reaching these markers, so I have to put myself in more debt. Otherwise, I'm jeopardizing everything in my life.
And I mean, I guess in theory, like if we're following this logic, like the worldly money is not really as valuable as total enlightenment. I mean, how could it be?
Spot on. Exactly. There's no price on happiness, is kind of what they're saying. There's no price in unlocking your truest potential.
Except there is a price, and it's $500 a month. Give it to me now.
Exactly. Beyond that, because you're going through courses. I don't necessarily know. I don't know. how long the courses are, but they do take some time, obviously.
Right.
But again, they take money, and then you're supposed to be in the church nonstop. How are you supposed to get this money if your credit's maxed out? And they would also have people who go in. Didn't really happen to my parents, but they've told me, and I've also seen it. They have advisors who know how to work your credit around to get yourself more loans, to get yourself a higher credit card balance, like max, and just go on from there. They know, they have their own financial people to go through and help you to give more money to the church. Not to help you if you're in debt, or if that's one of your biggest stressors, or what you
to help you help them.
Exactly. They're helping you help them because, oh, well, we'll do this for you. Boom. You can't get this money. We have all these things, all these options laid out for you, so you can pick one so we can get the most, so you can give us more money. I know.
Like, I just want to be like, that's rude. Like, above all else, that's just rude. So wait, so we know about the whole like excommunication vibe, and obviously the rest of your family was not in it. No. Thank God. But you said that your mom like made these close friends with these people. Do they still talk at all? They're not allowed to.
Of course not. Because my mother, she never spoke ill of the church, but she just stopped practicing. She stopped going, and therefore, you stop going, we can't speak to you. Like, you're against the church, you're not here. And they would try to, one of the girls that lived on the place that I grew up on, so she'd sometimes run into them, but either it's a simple hi or it's nothing at all because you left. So we don't have anything to do with you, because once you get higher up and stuff, and they were certainly higher up, not CR level, but they were higher up, you're seen as a bad person, an evil person. Oh, there's a really good term that I can't remember.
What is the word? I know the word.
Oh.
Isn't it an oppressive person?
Oppressive person. Yes, it's oppressive person.
Yes,
You're an oppressive person. So, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
This is an oppressive person. They're causing harm to the world. We can't affiliate ourselves with them because they're an oppressive person, and that looks bad upon us. And then you hire up, if you're with an oppressive person, that they'll wreak havoc on you. The church and the other people who will do those little, where they essentially talk to a higher person to write you up, and then you get sent to do those cylinders. And fun thing about those cylinders...
What are they going to do? Beat your ass?
Well, metaphorically, yeah, basically.
Maybe.
They're going to sit you through and do those E-meter things.
What E-meter?
They have these little meters. I don't think E-meter is the proper word, but they're these, think of like a Pringles can, but all aluminum, and two of them connected to like wires that go to this transmitter. It's supposed to read, I'm assuming it just reads electric signals from like your body and stuff, and they're the gauge what's locked inside you. They use it as kind of therapy, but also interrogation when you get written up and you hear something.
It's the combo of the therapy and interrogation.
Exactly.
You never know which one it's going to be.
Exactly.
What?
So they do that.
Now this is supposed to read what's locked inside me. I want to know.
Because they're skilled, much like a therapist, or they're skilled to ask these questions to unlock yourself. And when you get to the higher courses...
They're like, tell me your deepest, darkest secrets so then I can tell everybody else, and then we can keep you in here forever.
But yeah, I'm assuming. I've never gone through one of those things, but what they do, the ploy of it is, to unlock what's inside of you, to break free from these things that are keeping you down, to get yourself higher on the scale, to get yourself higher to enlightenment, along with the money. But you sit down and you do these things in like a room with the person who's trained on the meter, and then it's you there. So a big thing in San Diego and the county is the big fair of the West Coast. It's called the Del Mar Fair. It's absolutely huge. It's at the Del Mar racetrack, which is like a really big part of race horsing stuff in the country. Really cool place. However, we always had a booth. Scientology always had a booth there. San Diego did. We would always go there. One year, my mother, my father, and then the one person who was like ahead of that, and he was actually the guy who also showed up at the house multiple times in the school. He was the goon, guiding it all. They sent me and Brianna out with signs to get people to go to the booth and talk people up. Dad and Mom are there talking people up, like, oh, do this, we like this, we like this. Crazy. But they had the E-meters there, and they were doing like
recruiting children or what?
People.
You're like, hey kids.
People. But
I'm saying like you're the kid, so you're what, supposed to be talking to these adults?
No, we are just like the young, cute faces, children. Like, oh, come
you were
look
the
at
Gerber
this.
baby of Scientology in San Diego, like
exactly.
2005.
Exactly. They didn't have many kids, and when my mother told me about it, she's like, "Yeah, everyone, you were very precious to these people because they did not have very many young kids. The kids they did have were older, like teenager level. You guys were like 8 to 12, and very young, prime time to indoctrinate." A good thing that I also remember, my mother, she wanted me and my sister to get involved because when she first joined, again, the concepts of you're here to better yourself, and every parent wants their child to be better than them, and they want to be a better parent than their parents. It's just the way of life. And so when we saw she put us in, because she joined herself personally, and then once she learned, and they were like, oh, you have children, blah, 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 like, yes, I do. Well, why wouldn't you? If you're learning stuff that you supposedly feel in the beginning that are making you a better person, you want to be a better person for your children. Well, I can give my children these tools that I have been given to make sure that they excel in life.
Right.
And Leah Remini also talks about it a lot, where she says, I learned a lot of good skills from them. I learned interrogation, I learned how to stand my ground. There are some good things, but
don't take no for an answer.
Exactly. You don't have to learn them from that cult. You can learn them on your own in life. That's the borderline, but she made us join for that.
Yeah, that's the hard part to like differentiate, is when you're when you know someone who's involved in a high control group of any sort, is trying to differentiate the fact that you may have learned some things, you may have gained some valuable information, but the risk to reward is so much worse. Like, you are spending so much more money, you are being abused, you know what I mean? Like, you're in an unhealthy relationship with this organization. It's not worth the like pennies of little good advice that they're going to give you.
But I'm also the pennies I'm getting, but the millions I'm spending, and then also, I mean, and
they never see that. They only see the little shining glimpses, because they say that that's like a thing where it's like when you like have like, I guess, like a toxic relationship with someone, and it's like you're so used to it being like so bad that anytime there's like a little sprinkle of like something good or fun, then you really take that to heart as though that's more meaningful than it is, because that's the only little breadcrumb that you're getting.
It's the same psychology as that, exactly, because you get that little, but then it's such a reward, because what else have you been given? One of the big plays that my sister and I always remember, they had one of their courses, I have no clue why, they had clay. They would always let me and Brianna play with the clay when we would sit, and my mother going through courses. There was this one woman, she was very sweet, but again, I was very young, so I don't know what. My mother would know way more about her.
Is this youth group for Scientology?
There was no youth, so like there was no youth group. It was me and Brianna, like my sister, so that was it. So yeah, we did the courses. I remember sitting in a room, and it was a computer, kind of like think of like you're at a communal computer space in like a library, and they have like those wooden boards that separate each one. Sit there, and I had to watch the Way to Happiness movie. I had to read the book, and then we had to do that drug movie. And I cannot explain to you you can find all this stuff online on the Scientology website. You can find all the movies, all the videos, all for free. You can just find them instantly, and you can watch them. The way they hate drugs so much is insane. But again, because they believe you don't need to take drugs. Psychiatrists are against you. They're against nature. Like, they're against Scientology. They're destroying the world. They indoctrinate that into you so much, so heavy as a child. But you sit through all those courses. It wasn't heavy work because I was young. It was just videos and movies. There was no book, no real book besides that small booklet that I had. As with a lot of people who go into Scientology and who have left, they talk about a breaking point when a switch goes off and you realize nothing is adding up. As I said earlier, one of the big ploys that they get you in with as you go on and on is that you will reach this point of where your soul and your body is beyond breaking. So you won't get hurt, you won't get sick, you won't get this, you won't get that. Nothing in this world will affect you, because you've made yourself invincible. Queen. Exactly. You're invincible.
Khaleesi, mother of dragons.
Exactly. You're going to burn everything down, and you're going to be the one standing. That's how they view it. For my mother, it was first of all, the money. The money. She was
well, let's start there.
Like, what the hell? I have a family. My husband works. Yes, the military pays as well, but we live in California. Our cost of living is so high, and then boom, all this kind of stuff. Like, I can't be giving you all this kind of stuff. And also, it's my money. I want to do what I want with it. Also, with invincibility stuff, it wasn't getting that. And God rest this woman's soul, but she had reached, I think it was like OCT or OT something, one of the ranks, but like OCT or OT3, which is a very high rank. It's a very high rank. The poor girl got cancer, and died. So how are you when they're preaching to you that, of course, my mother, my grandfather's a doctor, we know this stuff, they all want to preach that kind of stuff, and you're going to live forever. It's not true. All this stuff, and you're not going to get affected by worldly pathogens. How does that happen? How do people still have mental illness? How do people still have these issues? How do people still not feel good? How do people still feel rage and anger? If you're saying that it'll all go away, how do you still feel that? And that was another point where it was like, none of these things are adding up. I'm putting my children through this. You're asking me for hundreds of thousands of dollars. You try to get my children to join the Sea Org, which thank God she didn't, but you're doing all these things and nothing's adding up. I'm getting below pennies and I'm giving all this kind of stuff. And it switched, and then she just
Because
left.
in theory, if you're giving all this money, then you should be promised this actual cancer-free life forever, you know, eternal.
Exactly.
Slay.
I should be free from this. Why am I not? And at what point? Oh, we have to get higher. You have to get higher. If you have to constantly climb the ladder to reach this, and then there's people on higher levels who are dropping, people who are still experiencing things, marital problems, friendship problems, or they might keep it to themselves, but you're still seeing things with your eyes. It just comes to a point where you realize this is not adding up. And luckily, my mother was smart enough and realized, I'm gone, goodbye, and then left.
My question is, how are they justifying people, for example, getting cancer, etc., and keeping people in? Like not everyone, that's not going to be everyone's breaking point. So what are they telling them when on one hand they told them this whole time, you're going to reach this enlightenment and your body will never feel pain and da-da-da, and then your daughter or whatever gets cancer, and then you still don't leave? Because what is it that they're saying to be like, well...
You were oppressive. You had oppressive thoughts. You had oppressive actions.
Spin it around, it's your fault.
Yes, it's your fault. It's your family member's fault. It is all on you. You're not doing this properly. Oh, you weren't following it properly. Boom.
See, and that's exactly like, as you know, my obsession with MLMs and multi-level marketing, pyramid schemes, et cetera, et cetera. That's essentially the entire thing too, because even though it's a different kind of group, like a different kind of cult-like group, the whole point there is obviously to make money. Like they sell it as like this super lucrative business.
Yeah, your snake oils, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And so when you are putting all this money, same thing, because they ask a lot of money from you in order to like invest in yourself and your business. It's not a business. Anyway. So when they're asking you to invest all this money and then you're not getting the return, the people who are like the, you know, the community leaders.
Yeah, the ones who are higher up on those pyramid things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They do the same thing and they tell you, well, what are you not doing? Spin it around so it's your fault. Like you're not making money because it's your fault.
Working. You're not advertising this. You're not living the lifestyle.
You're not working hard enough.
Exactly.
Whereas what they sell to you is you don't have to work at all. It's so easy. Like it just comes to you.
You're your own boss. Buy this and just simply go on Facebook and boom, you sell it. It's exactly like that. It's your fault. That's how they market it. Where, okay, you're going to be perfect. You follow the steps. Well, this happened to me. You didn't do something right. It was you. This is wrong. This is why this happened to you. You got this. Your family member got this. This is happening to you. Boom. All that kind of stuff. They blame you. And it's the easiest way out because you don't have to face issues on your own society and your own
Not
church.
only do you not have to face them, you spin it around so that they become more dependent on you.
Exactly.
And then they give you more money and then you just can suck the fucking life out of them. Until they just break.
It's a leech. Yeah, they'll get everything from you. And then you get to the point where you can't leave. Where your friends, everyone is in, they want you to much like
Which I imagine happens relatively soon, because if you're only allowed to speak to people in this organization, pretty soon all of the people who you know and talk to on a regular basis are going to be involved. And then if they're going to say something is wrong or something's not working and it's your fault, and then everyone's going to look at you like, oh yeah, like that's why your grandpa got cancer, bitch, because you're fucking reading the book backwards or some shit. Okay, now, thank you, Jacob, so much for this conversation. I'm going to give you one very special opportunity to ask me a question in this Ask Anya segment. So, do you have any questions that you would like to ask of me?
So, in terms with cults, I think also going on with what you said, your question you asked me, we always have a thought about what we would do if we had a loved one in it. Let's say our child, or a parent, or a brother or a sister who joined a cult like that. It doesn't have to be Scientology. We always want to say what we would do, and we would get them out, but a lot of times it's way harder. What would you do if you had if someone you loved was in it and you couldn't get them out? Would you go on further to make sure, like, I need to let you know that this is bad, and then most of the times I'll cut you off, or would you sit there and take it and be like, I'm always here for you? What would be your thoughts? What would you do?
I think that, and this is a lot coming from me because I'd be like, bitch, you look stupid. But I think that the best thing that you have to do when you really care about someone who's in that kind of mindset is really just lead with kindness and empathy, because people get automatically closed off when you're judging their belief system and the way that they live. And if it were any other belief system or any other thing, if you were going to be Buddhist, they would do the same thing. Like, why are you judging me for what I want to do with my life?
Yeah.
So I would leave the door open. If this was my sister, if this was my child, I would always leave the door open to say, if you want to learn more, if you want to maybe be open to hearing another perspective, I would be happy to give that to you. This as a topic is something that we probably as a boundary cannot discuss for that reason. But I would rather have the opportunity to have the discussion than be entirely shut out and lose on both ends.
Yeah. That's a great response.
Thanks. Let's cheers. Thank you, Jacob, so much for coming here.
Anya.
I hope that you enjoyed the very first episode. I hope that you come back again. Have a great day. Have a great life. Do what it is that you do. And follow me for more. Bye.